growing up in Connecticut, man, what were you kind of listening to as a kid, kind of growing up, getting you into being, wanting to sing in a band, to be in a band?
Linkin Park was probably the first one. I feel like that's like a pretty standard answer. But I didn't really think much about wanting to be Chester. I wanted to be Mike. Like I wanted to be
Nice.
like,
The rapper.
hyping people up and like all
Yeah.
that. And like I just was like, oh, it's so cool. And they had that Live in Texas DVD where they're saying, oh, any aspiring musicians in here? And a bunch of people raise their hands and start cheering. And they're like, oh, well, persevere and believe in yourself. And one day maybe you'll be up here with us or Metallica
Yeah.
or Limp Bizkit or whatever. And I took that to heart. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. So I always had that in the back of my head. It's like, and flash forward a little bit, start getting more into like, I start getting into like Still Remains and like Hey Today and like All That Remains, Kill Switch, stuff like that, Bullet for My Valentine, Trivium. That was all kind of stuff that I came up on like growing up. And I think it was with All That Remains for whatever reason, where I noticed like he was singing really proficiently and screaming really proficiently too.
Yeah.
And that kind of made something click in my brain. Is like, I listen to a lot of like screaming music and stuff, but for whatever reason with his particular technique, I was like, there must be something to it because this guy is clearly out there playing shows and playing concerts and stuff. And he's not like, he's doing it every day. Like this can't be like bad. This can't hurt him, And that was kind of the first thing that made me go like, maybe I'll try to figure it out. And then I just got obsessed, like super duper obsessed. And here we are. Rest is history.
It's crazy how many times that question kind of comes up, and Linkin Park kind of is that gateway to like a whole generation of bands, and growing up, I'm obviously older than you. So, I mean, I grew up listening to the Corns and Deftones and Limp Bizkits and stuff. And so when Linkin Park came along for me, it was they kind of came along at the end, but I think for a lot of people, they were the beginning, to the new metal thing and to kind of getting it. And how many bands right now, currently, no pun intended, are that were influenced by Linkin Park, and they're heavy like you guys, like super heavy bands, but they, Linkin Park was always that kind of gateway drug to everybody.
Yeah, like they just had such a good mix of it all. Like it was like electronic and it had like kind of this fusion thing going on, but it was still heavy. Like they went as far in one direction, they would go as far in the other direction. It was just like, I don't know, it was just such a cool thing at the time. And when you're like a kid, you can't really pin down exactly what you like about music. You just like it. And whatever they had figured out just resonated with me at that time. And it still does, it stands the test of time, in my opinion.